Hey everybody, it's Topwater Johnny, and in this bass fishing video, I'll be reviewing my top 5 swim baits for topwater bass fishing. Let's go! Whoa, there we go! Yeah! Woo, holy cow, folks. Topwater Johnny here, man. This is what we came here for. Look at that. Get back here. Look at that right there. That's the kind of beast that we came here for. There we go. Woo! And that one hooked. Hey everybody, it's Topwater Johnny here. Want to welcome you to the next video here. In this video, I'll be talking about my top 5 swim baits for topwater bass fishing. Now, when you saw the title, you said swim baits. Well, the reality is this, is that although I love topwater, you can make a swim bait act like a topwater lure, except it will be subsurface. In other words, it won't be on top of the water totally, it'll be just subsurface, but it'll be a swim bait lure. And what I found is that swim baits create a lot of great action and can create a lot of great movement if you work with them and you kind of understand the nature of them. So what I want to talk to you about here, and I don't know how many of you guys own swim baits, but when I started kind of using swim baits for topwater fishing, one of the things that can help you be better, I would say, with your swim bait game, but also with your topwater game, is when you buy a swim bait, fish it in the shallow water at first. What I do is I will fish a swim bait in shallow water and I'll watch what it actually does. So I'll fish it, it could be a foot, 2 foot of water, I'll cast it and I'll watch what it does. Does it sink down really fast? That lets me know if I cast it out deep, it's gonna go down fast. Or when I'm reeling it back in the shallows where it's clear, how does it move? Does it move fast with quick ripples or does it glide right to left really slow? So what I do to understand the swim bait is I fish it in the shallow water so I can get an understanding of what that lure actually is going to do in the deeper water. So by me watching it in the shallow water, I can now visualize it when it's out in the deeper water and I'm fishing it out in the middle of a lake or the middle of a pond or along edges that are a little, where the water is a little bit more dark and stained. I'll visually know what that lure is doing, and that helps me get into the right feeling when I'm actually reeling that lure in, what I really need to do. So I wanted to tell you guys all of that so that you guys could, if you ever get any kind of swim baits, kind of understand how to use it. And so when you start to do these swim baits, because you can't see them, normally when you fish them in deeper water, this method of fishing it in the shallows will really help you have more confidence when you start fishing it in a lot deeper water. Also, the gear that I'm using, whenever I fish most of my swim baits, I've got my Corrado DC right here, and I've got my rod here. My rod actually is a Johnny Morris rod. It's actually a 7.3, and it is what they say is a medium heavy but extra fast tip. And so that's what I normally am fishing any of my swim baits on, so that I have the speed of a Corrado DC when it comes to reeling it in, but also have the backbone and power to lock them down when they strike. Also, when it comes to the type of line that I'm using, I normally will be fishing braid. If the water's kind of dark and stained, then I figure that the bass won't be able to see the full braided line. And so I'll fish pretty much straight braid all the way to that swim bait. But if I can tell that there's definitely, the water's not as stained or as cloudy, then I'll actually, what I'll do is I'll have a total braid, and then I'll actually have about a foot of fluorocarbon tied to braid. And sometimes I'll just use a leader and I'll just tie them together that way. And that little bit of extra leader makes it clear so that the bass can't see the braid. So sometimes I'll do that just to make that necessary adjustment. I personally, because I don't fish in super clear water, the bass tend to don't see the braid because the water is also dark and the lure is normally very shiny or noisy or vibrating. and they're keying in more on that. But I would tell anybody out there, if you have water that's a little bit clearer, then you're probably going to need to have braid and then tie on a little fluorocarbon to the braid so that you're able to allow the lure to look as natural as possible. And when it comes to tying lines together, I don't do a lot of that. I'll just get that little leader and I'll tie it to the braid. Then I'll tie the other end of the leader to the fluorocarbon. Then I'll just have my pieces like that. So that's normally what I do as well. Okay. So what I wanted to do was just give you a little bit of background on my philosophy for swim bait based on Topwater and also the rods that I'm using. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and focus on my top 5 swim baits for topwater bass fishing. Let's go.
5.
Okay, everybody, and my number 5 swim bait for topwater bass fishing is, and everybody can see it right there. Check it out right there, everybody. It's the Odd Spurl Jointed 4.4 swim bait right here. Actually, 4.4 swim bait, as you can see right here, as I'm showing it to you here. It's actually got 7 jointed pieces to it right here. This actually is a sinking swim bait. So in other words, it will start to sink as you start to cast it out. But as you can see here, it has all of these little jointed ripples, which means there is a lot of action in this lure right here. And because there's so much action in this lure, this is one that you could reel relatively fast and quick, and it would look a lot like a fleeing fish. Now, I got this lure actually from Amazon, and it actually comes in a package of 4. And of the 4, the actual price is $13.99. And as I said before, the weight is 3/4 of an ounce. A lot of action, a lot of movement out of this lure right here. So if you're ever fishing a lure like this right here, the moment you cast it out, just kind of count to yourself 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, and start reeling. And your goal when it comes to using this as a topwater is to reel it as fast as you can, so it really creates a lot of disturbance and a lot of action in that middle water column and is moving really fast. And if those bass are around and they're keying on smaller bait fish, they will see this and they will strike at it. Nice strong hooks as well on it. Like I said before, got a cup bill, so it doesn't go down extremely deep, but it will sink. So that's why you have to reel it really quick. And this is my number 5 right here.
4.
My number 4 swim bait for topwater bass fishing is right here, the 6 Sense Hybrid Swim Crank. I featured this one before. As you can see, it has only 1 joint to it. So it doesn't reel real fast or really reel extremely fast. But with this feather on there, that creates a lot of action with this. So this is the Hybrid Swim Crank. Normal price is $9.99. And this is the D1 because this one only goes down a foot in the water column. Its weight is about 5/8. I have fished this one before in this pattern right here. A lot of action, a lot of noise, a lot of rattle to it right here. And this one right here, definitely, if the bass are chasing bluegill, this one definitely is one that will get hit. I don't reel this one extremely fast, kind of a moderate reeling because it has 1 jointed piece right here. It has a lot of rattling to it. So sometimes what I do is I actually jerk this one along like a little jerk bait to give it a little bit more action and erratic movement as well. With the tail on back here, that also causes it to really get noticed in the water column as well. So this is my number 4 swim bait for topwater bass fishing. All right.
3.
My number 3 swim bait for topwater bass fishing is Catchco's Baby Bull Shad Swim Bait right here. And as you can see, it's got those multiple joints, which means I can reel this one a lot faster. Whenever you have a swim bait that has multiple joints in it, that means you can get a really lot of action from it. The Buka has really high quality there. Look at that tail on the end there. It's almost like a Brillo brush right here. And I've got it in the bluegill pattern, but also have it in the bull shad pattern as well. The actual length of this is 3.75 in length. The price is $14.99. I got this one from the tackle warehouse, and definitely is a lure that will definitely get bit. And as I said before, fishing it in the shallows. Bluegill bait fish are in the shallow water. This kind of lure right here, once again, you cast it out, you reel it in the shallows, but you reel it really aggressively through the shallows. And that's where the bass will be keying in on these type of bluegill. What I've noticed is the bass seem to not hit the bluegill that are moving slow. They seem to be hitting the bluegill that look erratic. And so I would be making this bull shad come through there very erratic, creating a lot of noise, got a lot of disturbance. And this one definitely would get hit. And it's actually one of my favorites. I haven't caught any fish on it yet, but I do know when the spawn comes and when the bass are up feeding on the bluegill up close, this one right here definitely will get bit. So this is my number 3. All right.
2,
All right, and my number 2 swim bait for topwater bass fishing is the Chasebaits Propduster glide bait. Want to give you some specs on this one once again. This one actually is 5 inches long in length. It actually, its weight is 1.12 ounces. It is what's called a slow sink, and its retail price, because I bought it from Chasebaits themselves, $24.99. And one of the things that, as you can see here, has one joint to it. Still has a lot of noise and rattles in it as well, but one joint. This is a glide bait, so it's a much more smoother reeling of this particular lure right here. Really big, strong hooks. Got nice little propeller in there, creating more action. As you can see, you got a tie right here, but also you have a tie right there, which would pull this lure down deeper into the water column if you wanted it to. The way that I fish this one is once again in the shallows during the spawn. When the bass are on the nest and protecting their fries, creating their new area and their new space, this kind of lure would be excellent for the bigger bass, because bigger bass will see this as a threat and will go and punch at this one right here, and you should get some really incredible hits on it. Also, when big bass are feeding up for the winter time and they're trying to prepare to deal with the winter, they're going to go after these bigger bluegill and try to hit those as well. So when they're feeding up, trying to build themselves up for the spawn, or they're during the spawn, they're going to go and key in on these types of bluegill at this size right here. So that's why I wanted to show you this one right here. Once again, I fish it in the shallows. You could fish it in deeper water if you wanted to, but I tend to fish this one in the shallows where I can actually see the gliding motion of it and the movement of it. And if I need to make it a little bit more erratic, then I can do that to trigger strikes. So this is my number 2 for swim baits for topwater bass fishing, the Chasebaits Propduster. All right.
1,
All right, and my number 1 swim bait for topwater bass fishing, and this is one that you guys may not have seen before. It is the Gant Crab Jointed Claw 128 floating right here. This is actually a Japanese lure. Its actually length is actually 5 inches long. The weight of it is 3/4 of an ounce. And this one definitely, because it's made by Gant Crab, is a little bit more pricey. Spent $49.99 on this lure right here. That's probably why I fish it in shallow, so I won't lose it. But $49.99, and I got it at the Carolina Bait and Tackle. So that was the website that I got it on actually. Now, one of the things and one of the reasons that I bought this one here a while back, one, it does have a rattle in there, as you can see, but this was really my introduction into swim baits, and it's floating. And that was important to me because I wanted a lure that matched the hatch. It looked like a minnow, looked like a fleeing, some type of fleeing bait fish. And I wanted to get my feel for how bass would strike. So when bass are on the top and they're chasing minnows on top water, this right here was the lure that I looked at and said this would make the most sense for me. So whenever they're busting on top and chasing minnows, and you can see them chasing minnows, that's when this type of lure really shines. As you can see, it's really shiny. It's got a really good look to it here itself. And whenever the bass are keying up and looking up and they see this kind of meal above them, and it kind of has that S waver to it. In other words, this is a glide bait, but you can reel it a little bit faster to create a little bit more movement, a little bit more disturbance, and those bass will center on it. As you can see, even from the hook design on it, it's got a definitely unique hook design. You can see inside of it, you probably can't see, but it has lots of rotating ball bearings in there. And also, notice how the hook is actually how the piece is centered in there. It's designed to really stay straight and not really do a lot of up and down like this, but designed to go straight and move really fast and erratic that way. So this lure right here definitely is one that I look at as what I call my #1 lure, because for one, I really think that the bass will key on it and hit it hard. So just wanted to show you this one right here, and this is my #1 swim bait for topwater bass fishing. All right. Okay, and also I wanted to show you one more kind of what I call my bonus lure here for you guys. And I had gotten this lure over a year and a half ago, and this is another one that I received through Amazon, and it was the Odd Spurrow multi-jointed 4-inch 7-segment swim bait. Actually, it comes in a package of 3. The price is $14.99. And the reason I'm showing you this one right here was because this was one of the very first lures that I ever caught a bass on based on swim baiting. And so in the description box, along with other things you're going to see, there's a video of me fishing with this lure. So I just wanted to show you that I actually have some footage of me catching fish on swim baits. I just wanted to show you this lure right here just so you can see it and just kind of get a good look at it as well right here. As you can notice, for me, I always am trying to match the hatch and find lures that reflect what the fish are actually hitting on. And when I fished with this particular lure, I did note that during the time period that I fished it was when pre-spawn was beginning. So the bass were highly aggressive and defensive. And so that's why I think I had my greatest luck. And that's why I bring that up whenever you hear me talking about when and where to fish these lures. So there you go, right there. Just a little bonus lure that I want to show everybody right here. All right. And here they are. It's a quick review again here. First one down here is the Old Spurrow jointed 4.4 swim bait. The next one up is a 6-cent hybrid swim crank. The next one up is the Catchco Baby Bull Shad swim bait. Next one up is the Chasebaits Propduster glide bait. And finally, the #1 is the Gant Craft Joint Claw 125 floating. So there you are. There is all of my swim baits. All right. Well, there you go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that review of my top 5 swim baits for topwater bass fishing. I wanted to share with you guys those lures because I normally don't fish with those type of lures all the time. I mostly focus on really a lot of true surface topwater, but I did acquire these lures over time, and I just wanted to show you guys how I'm trying to use these lures. And as I have more success with them, you will definitely see videos of me catching bass on them. But I just wanted to show them to you so that you guys could see them. And if you ever think about doing some swim bait fishing, now you have a little bit more mindset on how to actually fish them and a way to fish them. A lot of people spend a lot of money on big gear to throw big swim baits. Well, you know, I'm really not trying to do that myself. So I said, I've got to figure out a way to throw a moderately sized swim bait on regular tackle that I would normally have. And I found that shallow was the best way for me to have the most success with those swim baits. Now I just want to thank all you guys for, once again, just being a part of this journey here. Also, I want to make sure I let Jason Sanchez know that your giveaway winning is on the way. In other words, Jason, you gave me your information now, and I put your lures in the mail, so they're on the way to you right now. The only person still left is Chris Collins. If you're watching this video, Chris Collins, please go down in the box area, text me your mailing information, and I'll send you the giveaway that you are entitled to receive. So, Chris Collins, you are one of the winners of the giveaway. Please reach out to me so I can get you that information. Go in my information box, text me your contact info, and you'll receive it. Now, next week on Monday, it is time to do a little jerk bait fishing, everybody. This right here is the Mega Bass Vision 110 High Float. Did a review on this one a while back. Had a great session catching bass on it. On Monday, this is going to be the lure that you're going to see me catching bass on and watching me put in work on. So be sure to tune in because I'll be fishing with the High Float here. This is one of their jerk baits that doesn't sink, it doesn't suspend, it actually rises up. And that's why I got it, because it rises above that grass. So I want you guys to make sure that you're watching for that. All right. Other things on here that keep in mind here. In my box, the description box of this video, you will see links to the lures that I've actually fished with, caught fish with. There'll also be links in there where you can go over and do your own lure review of those lures, and maybe you want to grab one of them. All of that is in the description box as well. Links to where I fished with these lures before, that's in there as well. So if I've caught fish with it, you're going to see videos in there that you can check out and see me putting in work with some of those swim baits. But then also there are links over there where you can go over and, like I said, just grab you one if that's what you're interested in. Also in the description box is links to my store. As I told you before, I just released the Topwater Johnny Bass Fishing store where you can grab one of the newest shirts that I have out. And I would love for you guys to go over there, check that out, see if you like one of them, grab one of them. I would really appreciate that as well. Finally, and the last thing on here is this, as always, I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for subscribing to my channel, following me, staying connected to me. I really do appreciate your support. And I want to leave you with that phrase as always. Keep your line tight, because when they hit those topwater lures and some of these swim baits here, especially the 5 and the 6 one I mentioned, it's going to be a big bite.